The man who never raised his voice. He wore the same clothes every weekday. Khakis. A tucked-in shirt. Comfortable shoes. The kind of man you'd pass in the hallway without remembering 5 minutes later. He worked a state job, paperwork, meetings, compliance reviews. The kind of position that came with a badge you clipped to your belt and a parking space that wasn't quite close enough to complain about. He arrived early. He left on time. He coached his kids' team when the season allowed. To everyone who knew him, he was steady. Predictable. Safe. That was the point. At home, he was a husband first. A father always. He packed lunches. Helped with homework. Sat quietly on the couch after long days, listening more than he spoke. When neighbors talked politics or crime or the state of the world, he nodded without adding much. No one noticed how carefully he watched entrances. No one noticed how he always chose the chair with his back to the wall. No one noticed how he never drank enough to dull his awareness. He had left the military years earlier, or at least, that's what his paperwork said. Officially, his service record ended cleanly. No drama. No ceremony anyone attended. Just a transition briefing and a handshake from someone who told him, "You've done enough." But men like him don't simply disappear. They disperse. They become teachers. Project managers. Supervisors. Quiet leaders in unremarkable places. They fade into the background where no one is looking. A few times a year, he traveled. Sometimes it was a conference. Sometimes it was training. Once or twice, it was just vacation. His wife had learned not to ask too many questions, not because she didn't trust him, but because the answers never came easily. He never lied. He just left things unfinished. "I'll be gone a few days," he'd say. "I'll call when I can." And he always did. What no one knew was that during those absences, he became someone else again. Not the man he used to be, but the man he had been trained to turn back into. There were no uniforms. No rank spoken aloud. No salutes. Just quiet rooms. Short briefings. Names he never repeated. Sometimes the threat was already inside the country. Sometimes it had been there longer than anyone realized. And sometimes, the danger wasn't loud. Sometimes it wore a smile. He didn't think of what he did as killing. He thought of it as ending a sequence before it reached its conclusion. There was no anger in it. No hatred. Just precision. Just timing. Just the understanding that hesitation cost more lives than action ever would. When it was over, he came home the same way he'd left. He hugged his children. He unpacked quietly. He returned to work on Monday. His coworkers asked how the trip went. "Good," he said. "Productive." And that was true, just not in the way they imagined. At night, when the house was quiet, he sometimes stood at the window longer than necessary. Watching the street. Listening for sounds that didn't belong. His wife once asked him what he was thinking about. He answered honestly. Making sure things stay normal. She smiled, kissed him, and went to bed. The world never knew how close it came. And that was exactly how he wanted it. To be continued.